Bottom to the Top Hoops, what we like to do is we like to basically put you on to what's going on, creating highlight reels. What we are setting the platform up for kids that are not on the radar, where we can give them a look and get them a look. All right? And log on to that bottomtothetop.hoops.com.
You know, when you catch fire in the tournament,
Yeah.
I mean, these teams that play well, or if it's an individual player that's playing well, and we had a number of guys.
Were you in the groove at that time?
Oh man, we felt great.
Okay.
We felt great. We just knew through our regular Big East schedule, playing against the two #1 teams in the country at the time, twice a year.
Yeah.
It would take something real special to beat us.
So let me ask you, what's what's his theme? What is his messaging? Like, you know, surviving events. We just got to people talk about winning today, and, what was his underlying messaging for you guys? What could you think of that says, I remember Rolly really emphasizes on?
Well, a couple things, like, you have a week to prepare for the tournament. I mean, you go home, you win the first game, you win the second game, you go back home. And his thing was to know the other opponent inside out. I mean, that was his thing. So we go into these practices and he would have the coaches break down film of all the top moves of each player, patterns that they used at different points in the game. I mean, we knew everything about every other
Setting
team.
you up for your coaching career.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. It made everything else very easy because, that preparation, and I can think back to how we used to get ready. We used to have these group meetings with different positional meetings, and the guards would meet with one coach, and the forwards would meet with another coach, and we go through each player. And Ed, you got to know Billy Martin. You got to know him. This is what he likes to do. He likes to post up, turn over his left shoulder. I mean, they were doing that back then. So that really got us ready for each team we
So
played.
you guys move on to weekend 2. Who is the next opponent?
So the next opponent is Memphis State.
Keith Lee.
And Keith Lee's on
Andre Turner.
Andre Turner's on the team. So those guys, we really wanted to play against. And
This is Jerry Curl Keith Lee.
This is Jerry Curl Keith Lee.
Right.
And we had played them in previous tournaments before. But again, it was kind of like this Big East thing. We just felt like any team we played other than another Big East team, they just
got a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, it wasn't a Big East team, so we felt real confident playing.
Right, you had a swag.
Yeah, we really did.
Now, fast forward, man, you guys go into the Final Four. I've been to the Final Four as a spectator, watched the Final Four on TV. What is it like when you run through the tunnel, knowing like this is to get to the championship? Because it's almost like, the championship is great to be a champion, but from the NCAA standpoint, the Final Four is like you made it. So how was that, like getting there, the hoopla, the crowd? It was.
Well, it was a great venue. It was the last on-campus arena to host a Final Four. So it's 3 Big East teams. It's Georgetown, St. John's, and Memphis, and us. And we're just.
Right.
You can't be any more hyped, man.
Right. You need to check your pulse.
From the time you get off the plane, there are people greet you at the airport. Your family's at the hotel. It's just like everything is just, amplified by 20, man.
Wow.
It's incredible. So by the time the game starts, you're just so ready to play, man.
Right. So you guys get to Georgetown. Familiar opponent. Now I want to focus on this for a second. What is your mentality? You and Big Pat. You guys have been battling for years in the Big East. What is your mentality to win that battle?
So he's the #1 player in the country. So.
Yeah. Shot changer. He wants to intimidate. That's what his thing was.
And their whole squad was about that.
True story.
Yeah. So my thing is like Presley, McLean, and myself, all together. This is a group effort here against this cat.
Presley had a good one that day.
Yeah, he played really well.
Yeah.
But it's a group effort anytime we play against them, because I mean Pat used to try to take the first few minutes of the game to try to punk you, and he did, and he accomplished that.
And they said he would even goaltend shots, just to deter people from coming through the lane and trying to get layups or anything at the rim.
Yeah, I mean, like that team was really talented. Not many people talk about Billy Martin. Billy Martin was a cat from DC.
Oh, I know Billy Martin well.
Serious ball player, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
Pat was the best player in the country.
And Mike Jackson was the injury.
Yeah, I mean, that was a serious team.
Yeah.
Really serious. But because we had played them twice early in the year, we were just familiar with everything they did.
Right.
We were ready for the press,
and
ready for the goaltending, and
you were the MVP.
Yes.
But I'm a guard. The orchestration of handling the press.
Yes.
Gary McLean was he was all over the place. I think he had 8 points in the game.
But he controlled the game.
He did, and the strategy to just hold it out, and they just got over anxious, and you could see they were over pursuing in the game, and then they wanted to get everything back at once, so the shot selection started to go down. So all of those things coupled, you guys have a magical run, become a national champion. Do you feel like that run helped you with your draft status?
No question. I mean, you're the last team standing. You're going to get some special looks. At that time, the whole draft situation was very different.
Bunch of rounds.
They had senior all-star games that you would go to and play in, and that would also predict who was going to go high in the draft or not at the time. Because I had gotten an opportunity to play in the tournament, play in the Final Four, I was exempt from going to
That's like having that 90 average in class and you got to take the final.
It was great, so I didn't have to go.
You didn't have to reprove, you was already on display. That was your all-star game.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I stayed back. I was able to graduate, finish up school after the tournament run, and then really just get prepared to go to my next team, just work in the gym and prepare.
So you kind of knew in general where you were going to go around the area within maybe 7-8 picks.
Yeah, after the the selection of my agent at the time was a guy by the name of Lee Fentress, Advantage International. They develop a whole plan for you, and you don't know exactly, but you have a general idea of, you could go anywhere from 7 to 10, and that's based on some of the interviews that you might go on. I had gone to Cleveland, and at the time, George Karl was the head coach at Cleveland, and he told me, he's like, we're looking at you, Chris Mullin, Charles Oakley, and Keith Lee. So we're going to take one of you guys out of that group. We like that grouping of guys. So I knew at the time that I was going to be in and around. Now Chris went early when we were all down at the Fell Forum. He went right to Golden State. They picked right before, so I knew my number was going to be called right there after that.
You get into the NBA, get drafted, and obviously for any kid, especially coming from where we come from in our humble beginnings, right? You're at the pinnacle. Is it a relief? Is it exhilaration? Is it now trying to prove yourself again? What is your mindset going into the league?
No, it starts all over. I mean, you start from scratch. So you get drafted, you go to early workouts, and again, the NBA wasn't as prevalent and on TV at that time. So I go to play alongside of a cat by the name of Larry Nance. And I'm working out with this cat. He's 6'11",
over here,
and he got a 40-inch vertical. I'm like,
he got long arms, big hands.
I mean, he's unreal. The star of that team was Walter Davis.
Sure.
So yeah, Walter Davis at that time was an 11-time All-Star two guard and somebody that Michael Jordan patterned his game after. Not many people know that, but
Right.
Mike patterned his game after the early parts of his game after Walter Davis. And Walter Davis was unreal, man. Could make shots.
Oh,
was a
difficult shot.
fine athlete, and that's.
He doesn't get enough credit for his athleticism too because of the accuracy in which he shot the ball.
You're absolutely right, but those are kind of some of the guys that I came in under, and they really taught me how to be a pro very early on in my career.
So now, as you talk about that, your journey through the pros, obviously you played with a couple of different teams. One of my favorite teams, the Sixers. How was that being in Philly, man, back in the 215?
I'm gonna tell you, it was great to play there. I only had one season there,
Right.
but it was a lot of fun, man. Because anytime you can, like I had this thing about the Northeast, man.
Right.
I mean, because I've played a lot of my ball outside of the New York City area. I always wanted to be a Knick. I wanted to try to become a Knick.
Right.
Bernard King, that whole it never happened. So the next best thing was playing in Philly, and I had a great time playing in Philly. But it gave me the opportunity to sort of set up my post-career at the time, because the head coach was John Lucas at the time.
Oh, wow.
He was the head coach and general manager, and he is the guy that sort of put the bug in my head about, hey, what you gonna do? What you gonna do after you finish
That's just
playing?
how you talking too, right?
What you gonna do after you finish? And
Right.
I would be like, you know what, man.
I guess I got to think about this, huh, Luke?
This don't last forever. This don't last forever, Ed. And he really put the bug in my ear about, thinking about my career after basketball.
Obviously you were able to get to the league and have put some good work in the league and play against, and that era is a golden era of basketball in general. But you make a very interesting point when you talk about somebody pulling your coat and talking about what's next for you. So he forced you to deal with what that reality was. And I think sometimes, you see kids on social media, you see kids having conversations about, oh, I'm going to the league, or this guy's one and done, whatever it is. But I don't think you see enough people talking about, I want to make a plan. I don't think you see enough people talking about, I need to research and find out what I really need to do. Or guys who are great high school or college players that just because you don't make the NBA, international basketball is not a guarantee. It's hard to get over there.
The competition, as we all know, has elevated because everybody has the use of trainers. Everybody has the use of video on the internet, YouTube, what have you. So they can see how to train, how to work out, how to become a better player, athlete, whatever the case may be. But and I go back to John Lucas. John Lucas had a special staff at the time. He had Tom Thibodeau, who I have a great relationship with now. And I've coached under a number of years, and he had a guy by the name of Ron Adams. Both of those guys were on the staff. John Lucas used to hit everybody with, hey man, what are you doing with your career? So those two guys used to ask us the same questions too, and they would talk about the other aspects of the game, whether it be managing, scouting, broadcasting, and luckily for me at Villanova, it's broadcasting is what I studied.
Oh wow!
So I had somewhat of a feel about how to broadcast, but they just hammered you with it all the time. And as we used to go around the league, they would introduce you to different people in different aspects of the business, not on the court, but other just different
people. So they were setting guys up.
They really were, man. That was John Lucas's whole deal. He was all about trying to prepare guys for their post careers.
Now let me ask you, going through that and having him as a mentor, do you find that you took on some of those characteristics in becoming a coach, becoming an analyst, and trying to grab a young guy by the arm and saying, hey man, what's your deal? What you looking to do? Because I find myself in so many situations when I'm coaching, teaching, mentoring young kids, and just sharing, there's other stuff that you can be doing. It's not MBA or bust. So what was their influence on you, and how did you approach kind of trying to, guide young players along the path of trying to set themselves up for success?
Well, it gives you, as you're playing, a great sense of comfort,
right,
when you know you can transition into something else that gives you just as much as enjoyment as the game.
Because it's still basketball.
Yeah, because you're affiliated with basketball. And I'll tell you another guy very instrumental in helping me make the transition was Pat Riley.
Oh wow.
Pat, my last year in the NBA, I played with the Miami Heat. He was also another guy, would always, for whatever reason, he would, hey, listen, what are you going to do with your career after? Because I really think you could, help an organization, whether it be your scouting or your broadcasting. I got my first opportunity with the Miami Heat in scouting and broadcasting because every time I was around him, he would, well, what are you going to do? I had a viable answer. I could tell, well, coach, what I'd like to do is I'd like to broadcast and I'd like to scout, because I talked to John Lucas back in the day, and he felt that I have some strengths that would lend itself to that job. And yeah, the preparation, the thought process of thinking about it, talking to people who were already doing it, they put the seed in my head, and then once I got the opportunity, I told Coach Riley, I said, listen, I'd love to continue to play, but I really feel comfortable in switching over to this next career, and I got the opportunity because of that.
Wow, man, that just talks about how you can talk things into existence and bring that energy to the table, and obviously be prepared for it, because you can get an opportunity, but it's not bad luck if you don't do well.
No.
You gotta be prepared. You gotta be willing to do the research, and you gotta be serious about what it is. And just like on the court, you gotta put the time and work into being good at it.
Well, listen. If there was only one broadcaster in this world, but there are a lot of other people, both men and women, that all would like to do the same thing. So you have to put the work in. You got to have an idea of kind of your style, and there's time to work on those things when you're playing, when you're in the game, whether it be high school, college, or professional. You got plenty of time. You just got to take one or two things out that waste your time and insert something that can help you later down the line.
So now, one of the things that we talked about prior to actually doing the show is the state of New York City basketball. I talked to Tom Kuchowski on this show, and he said that the state of New York City basketball isn't as dire as people make it out to be. Just that New York City kids aren't staying home, they're going to prep schools, and they're winding up at universities and doing well. Your take in terms of what you know from an NBA perspective, kids that you've seen, the history of the game, where do you think it is?
No, listen, I just watched Kemba Walker slice up Team Canada.
Right.
Kemba Walker's from my neighborhood.
Right.
The state of New York City basketball is fine.
Okay.
It's really...
Ed Pinckney said it. Listen, we ain't doing that bad.
I think, and obviously, there is a great history of basketball here in this city. People have caught up. I think there was a time where we were way ahead, but certainly like California, Texas,
Chicago,
Illinois, Chicago, places.
Canada.
Canada has great basketball players coming out of there. Now they've caught up, But I think New York City is right there. There are still great players coming out of this area and stuff. It just isn't getting. There was a time when New York City just got all the publicity, and that is not the case now. There are great players all over this world.
And this too, it is a little stretched out because it was a 2-horse race before. It was Gauchos and Riverside and everybody else.
Right.
And now the talent is spread out, so you don't have the concentration of a Ed Pinckney, Olden Polynice, Pearl Washington, Chris Mullin, and that picture that is in Gaucho Gym somewhere, right? With the orange uniform.
Right.
So the thing about it is Jerry Ice Reynolds.
Yes.
So I think now with the fact that it's spread out, you don't get a chance to see those super teams anymore. So now we can't dominate, and some states are able to say, we're going to get the best out of Memphis, and we're going to be Team Penny. So you get to see the best of it. But New York might have 4 teams in the EYBL.
Right.
So it kind of lends to the fact that as we spread out a little bit, you can see the concentration of the talent level is still there, but they may be split amongst 5 teams.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's just based off sheer numbers. This is a big city with 5 boroughs.
Right.
So you're going to have guys who want to stay a little bit closer to home, and whether it be in Staten Island or Brooklyn, and just play with their local team. I'll give you a perfect example. Taj Gibson is going to be a forward with the Knicks. Taj Gibson is Brooklyn born, bred, played some with the Gauchos, but he did a lot of high school basketball out in California.
Yeah.
He's more noted for his USC ties than his New York ties.
Yeah.
Now, that hopefully will change now that he's with the Knicks.
Yeah, he claims it, but it's just he's not known for that.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I mean, we have a lot of our kids go to other places, make their names other places, and I mean, even with myself, I go to different parts of the country. People think I'm from Philly. They say, "Hey, you from Philly?" I have a 215 phone number.
Right.
I'm not from Philly. I'm from the Bronx.
Yeah, right. You gotta claim that.
Yeah, and I let them know. I'm from New York City.
Right.
But that's what happens. So I mean, there's kind of a spreading out, as you mentioned, of the talent.
I think that when you look at young kids and their goal for trying to get to the next level, what do you think the biggest misconception is that you could educate people about trying to make it to the professional level?
When we say put the work in, I think putting the work in doesn't mean putting your videos on social media.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that, because just because you have a couple of clips on social media, I'm telling you right now, there's somebody in the gym now putting their stuff on social media, and they're really putting in a lot of work. And I think kids sort of get, I mean, even NBA players, you have some guys that'll put videos up, they're working out at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll work out for 30 minutes at 2 o'clock in the morning, put it on social media. I got that work in. I work for 30. That's not putting in the work. Have a great understanding of how to shoot the ball, how to handle the ball. I mean, like inside out. How to shoot, how to handle, and how to defend.
Right.
You gotta have inside knowledge of those 3 disciplines in order to become a good player. What makes you a great player is this. Learning and studying the game. Because everybody's working on their game, but what separates the good ones from the great players is great studying in how to play, and then listening to the people who are trying to teach you how to play. I got a lot of great help from a lot of great coaches along the way because I listened. I never said to anybody, well, I can't do that. That's not my game. Nah, let me try to implement.
We try to have a little bit of fun on the show, right? Best basketball moment.
Best basketball moment, I probably have to say, can I say 2? I gotta pick 2.
All right, cool. Right.
I would say the Final Four, winning national championship, and then getting drafted, man. That whole thing at the Felt Forum of getting drafted, having your family,
the Bronx was proud of that day, man.
There's nothing
I was
like
celebrating. Listen. At the end of the day, right, this stuff comes full circle, but I was a kid. Didn't get a chance to make it down there, but I was a kid watching. And I'm saying that's a Bronx guy. So you helped so many kids dream because we saw it to be real. This is somebody who was just at Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club, who I saw play, and he's now on TV. I want to be like him, right? So that's, kudos for you for that. Now, toughest opponent, college, NBA, high school.
Toughest opponent was Alex English, man.
Yeah. Poetry in motion.
He didn't talk a lot on the court. And, in the 80s, it was all about physicality and trying to play physical. I would have to match up with him, and I would try to guard him as physical as possible. I'd be beating this dude up, and he would still be scoring.
Amazing grace.
He could just put the ball in the basket.
That's what he did. Slow motion.
Yeah, it was slow motion. He would run the floor, and you look at the box score at halftime, and Alex English got 18 points. And I'm doing everything to try to prevent this dude from scoring. Couldn't do it, man. He was my toughest opponent.
This is gonna be a tough one. Favorite teammate ever?
Man, that's oof.
Everybody got YouTube.
I'll name three.
Everybody's changing the rules.
I know. I don't have just one.
Okay.
But I got so many guys that I love playing with. But I really enjoyed my time with the Celtics, man.
Okay.
Parrish, Bird, McHale. I had so much fun playing with them because they talk trash in practice every day.
Every day.
Every single day.
Okay.
And then they talk trash in the games.
Wow.
And it was all about like trying to make your opponent, try to embarrass your opponent and make him submit. And that they took that into practice and in the games. I mean, every day we come into practice, it was a lot of fun because there was a lot of trash talking that went on, and it made practice go really fast.
Last question. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when somebody says the Bronx?
Man, a lot of things. Just just great times and great people, and growing up in the Bronx really prepared me for the world, man. It really did, because there are a lot of great people that I met along the way in my high school years, and I bring the BX.
There you go.
I bring the BX everywhere with me, man.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time. Always pay homage to your great work and the things that you've done, and inspiring so many young kids, including myself. So I'll give you the last word. What do you want to share with some of the young basketball players who are aspiring athletes who are in the range of this viewership that's going to see this?
Well, there is no secret to trying to make it or become a great basketball player. You got to get great work ethic. You got to keep your head in those books. You hear that time and time again, and you can't emphasize it enough, because you do those two things: great work ethic, keep your head in the books, and there's no telling where you could end.
Success is boundless.
It's endless.
Ed Pinckney, Bronx great. We throwing the X up. Bottom to the top hoops. We out.
Hi, this is Ed Pinckney. You're watching From the Bottom to the Top Hoops.